I'm gonna wait a few minutes, a little bit more. Welcome back. I am playing, again, Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. And let's go back to where we ended up. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades, and you take the plunge into darkness again, sinking, 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 sinking. And contrast. Hunger is at the heart of the vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over it in its desire to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the masquerade, while staining what humanity you have left. The countries of New York, having high hunger, is indicated by a progressively thicker, bloody frame around the screen, like the one you've seen here. Okay, so high hunger means I'm going to see blood around. Okay, like no. As your hunger grows, so does this indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers, or when you... Oh, hi, Kimura. When you call upon your vampiric powers, or when you need to mend your wounds after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you will receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Some choices might only become visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices, as you will be able to see that after pressing continue. Option blocked off. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and sink your hunger. Blocked off, feeding opportunity. You will need to keep your hunger at bay if you are to uphold the masquerade and survive the nights that await you. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. Is this a VN? I don't know what a VN is. Yes, it is a visual novel. Vampire the Masquerade is a visual novel about vampires. I think it's based off of a tabletop RPG called Vampire the Masquerade. But I don't know too much about that. The tabletop game. The room fills with artificial light from the ceiling. The Soila metal doors is closed. Normally, you stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you probably throw a quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you are fully conscious. No grogginess, nothing weighing you down, just a nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door in the main room. Oh, that's fine. You can lurk. Thank you for your lurk. A digital clock on the TV show to the time, 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is New York City's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that what your waking hours are gonna look like now. You missed the sunlight already. You seriously considered just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself. But then you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe slinking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe has sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of the recommendations. The doorbell rings. It is Sophie. Good evening, Time. Slept well? Like a baby? Like a dead man. It's not exactly sleep, right? I'm gonna choose it's not exactly sleep. It's not really like normal sleep, is it? I suppose it isn't. Some say it's more like being dead. But wouldn't know, would we? It's no use reflecting on it anyways, except that it is who you are now. You made the right choice yesterday. I could teach you many things about yourself, your blood, its desires, and its power. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There is only one remedy, the blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you sink your thirst. So tonight, I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the keen vulnerabilities to your advantage. I'm ready to learn. No more freebies? Predator and prey, huh? Grim. I'm ready to learn. Let's get started. Such eagerness, or is it your hunger making you impatient? You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. How do you avoid being seen? How do you cover your tracks? How do you select a victim? Since my character doesn't like certain blood, I'm going to choose how to select a victim. How do I choose who to feed from? Are they better or worse? Targets? Isolated kind are easily prey, of course, but much depend on context. Hunting requires a different approach in a busy club than it does on an empty street. With time, you will have the luxury of finding your preference in hunting methods and prey. For now, I suggest experimenting in moderation. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out, you risk the ire of the other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, New York City is more forgiving in this regard. New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves. These upcoming nights, as long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory is waiting for us. The busy streets fill the air with traffic noise, pedestrians, chatter, and a mix of smells that disorient you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thin New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be. But compared to the daytime commute, this is a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thoughts and to formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. Come, time. Park the car. Gregory, will you? The driver nods and Sophie gets out. You join her, and the two of you walk through the glass doors together. Then take the elevator up. You first notice an empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back. Then take in the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seems concluded. The patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that flashes in the front of security guard. You follow close, and you are let through without issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this is one would usually quite prove a challenging to the inexperienced kindred, but consider this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to produce for you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking a small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see here. Ah, there he is. She noticed someone in the crowd, flashes her heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who almost tipping himself over to reach her. She clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm happy to see you. How is your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl. Come over, please. There's someone I would like you to meet. A young woman who walks across the halls can't be more than 19 years old. It is clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit this crowd. Julie, this is time. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you will like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it is exactly Sophie expects you to do. You reach a secluded space from which the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out the next steps. If you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, I mean, that you know. She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself a theatrical nip, then looks at you, embarrassed, but also hopeful. Yeah, I do. I don't know what you're talking about. What, you're into that sort of thing? Hi, Lex. And thanks for the follow. Hi, Arson. I mean, Kamurosaurus. So I am playing Vampire the Masquerade. It's a, I know that you kind of know about this. It's a tabletop RPG, but this is a visual novel of it. And I'm a businesswoman. And yeah, I'm about to feed as a vampire does. Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. She takes off her jacket and buttons her sleeve, then rolls it up. You see a tattoo of a cat in an astronaut suit, one feline eye winking at you. I want to say gnome. I'm not sure. You just give off gnome vibes. I don't know what class you'll be. I don't know how tall they are. I want to say ranger. I think you'll be a gnome ranger. I don't know how tall you are. You just give off the gnome vibes. There. Just enjoy. A perfectly awkward smile and a blush. Drink from Julie? Don't drink from Julie. You take her forearm in your hands. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching and no security cameras cover this area. You bite down gently. I do think Arson would be probably a human wizard, by the way. I think he'll be kind of like Gale. Human wizard. You take her forearm in your hands. You just give off gnome vibes. Probably a forest gnome. They live in like little gnome forest holes. No, Davidee's a bard. I think I think you'll be a ranger. Well, all forest gnomes bard in that game. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching. It's fine. You're fine. And no security cameras cover this area. You bite down gently. It's surreal. She just given you her blood of her own volition. How is this possible? Is this about the masquerade? You need to ask Sophie. Sophie's our mentor. Patron is what she called herself. You tear away from her. A brief convulsion shakes you. Her smell. It's her smell. It's not right. The temporary feeling of bliss the girl felt when you bit her is gone in an instant. She's disappointed, annoyed even. She looks at you, unsure what's the matter. Yeah, I'm very particular about blood. For some reason, I don't know why. Come back, please. Just some more. Just a little bit more. The very thought makes you want to throw up. What little of her blood you tasted, you shake your head. The girl sniffs, starts crying, wipes her face into her jacket sleeve, and walks down the stairs into the hall. The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, some only residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was splendid talking to you, but we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with time. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. How did it go? Lie. She was tasty. How did it go? You people are sick. I tried, but I don't want to lie. And I don't want to insult. And I know what she's talking about, so I'm going to do I tried, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand the smell or the taste. Curious, I consider Julie's blood to have one of the most exquisite and unique banquets of the city. And trust me, I have refined taste. She almost sounds like she's offended. Oh well, if at first you don't succeed, perhaps you need a change of pace. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off. This time, Gregory? Fleshy Mellows, please. The driver takes the car over to Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What did you do to the people back there? What's about training wheels? Why Fleshy Meadows? I'm more curious on what she did back to the people. Those people back in the hall. They were all in trance. Even I was under your spell. What was that? She smiles with satisfaction. That old trick? It's just blood doing my bidding. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy we inherit from our sires. Others can be learned with experience. I could sway people, make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. All of these skills made me who I am. They also help me hunt. What are my powers? How do I use my powers? Do I need powers to hunt? What are my powers? Okay, so what are my talents? Time will tell. I already said I don't know. You need to discover them yourself. When we arrive, experiment. Give different things a try. Follow your instincts and intuition. It will guide the blood. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It is still a find that you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, but save those other talents for the right place and time. It only takes you a half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seemed deep in thought. She takes in the surrounding with a dreamy gaze. The sky is unsurprisingly clear tonight, the stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood. But only pick one victim. Just one, then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger, or someone like them could work, but focusing on one area might work better. New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis courts nearby. There's light coming from there, so someone might be still playing at late night match. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As these scenarios play out in your mind, you realize you planned how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but now familiar hunger prompts you to act. Search for a victim around the park, hunt near the Deprective Pavilion, look for a play at the tennis courts, take a walk, but don't feed. Well, it says that I am hungry, but probably not too much. So I do want to feed, and I'm going to search for a victim around the park. You start walking. The park's many avenues must hold a good spot or two for a predator like yourself. You pass 2 soccer fields and circle around where the Fountain of Planets once awed visitors with its spectacle before coming across an opportunity. A woman, a small duffel bag on her arms, making her way through the park in a hurry. She doesn't seem to have noticed you yet. Presence focus her attention, lie in wait and overpower her. I want to try presence, seeing what powers I have. You think back what Sophie did in the hall, how she managed to focus the attention on the entire gatherings on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. For a moment, you're thinking how the old guy in a hood should appear over your shoulder saying, "Use the force, time." It feels ridiculous. But then, something stirs within you. There's a confidence there, an allure that you might have had before, but one that increases manifold in its moment. You catch the woman's eye. She flashes an unsure smile, almost in spite of herself, as she passes you by. Hey, stop. Wait, please. Wait, please. She tenses, gripping her bag close, but attentive. Her eyes lock onto yours. The sly smile is there again. Yes? What is it? Almost intuitively, you close the distance between you. She can't look away. She's unprepared for what follows. In a swift mood, you grab her and bite down. Her surprise resonates in her blood. Hot, excited, fast-flowing. She tenses up, then relaxes. The duffel bag hits the ground. Bliss. Footsteps. You let go of her. She drops to the ground, barely conscious. A hooded man looks menacing at you. What do you think you're doing? Barging in on my turf like this, Lick. Lick? A derogatory term that's used to address young and inexperienced vampires. Lick, what kind of slur is that? I don't mean to trespass. I'm gone. F off, or else. I'm gonna do Lick. What kind of slur is that? Did you just call me a lick? What is that even supposed to mean? Don't be cute with me. I know what you are. Shove that masquerade stuff up your butt. Better tell me who you are with before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. I'm here with Sophie Langley. I'm here with Chimera. Big top coming from a chump. Big top coming from a chump. You talk big, but I'm thinking you're just a chump. Want to prove me wrong? He tenses up, gives you an extremely nasty look, and bares his fangs. You don't want to push your luck, dummy head. My crew is in earshot, one shot away, and then you're DONE. Done. Get what I'm saying? So if you want deuce, let's dance. Once I'm through, I'm gonna hand you over to Kalnan, and you're going to be sorry. I don't finish you off You're gonna be sorry I didn't finish you off instead. Dominance. Force him to back down, call for help, attack him. Dominate. Enough is enough. He won't be intimidated by this meanie face. Leave now. His countenance changed. A cruel beast one moment, then humble pup the next. He walks away, just like that. How'd you do it? Not wishing to tempt fate any further, you return to the unisphere. Looking back over your shoulder, you must make sure you're not being followed. Two figures are visible near the sculpture, a man and a woman, entangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, feeding, but this whole scene is set up so that it looks like a couple getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. Her driver appears from behind a tree. Well, time, how did it go? You're about to answer? Then, when the same figure as before emerges from one of the alleys, he looks at the three of you. A predatory smile creeps into his lips. You're screwed, dummy face. You think you can mess with my head and get away with it? Think you'll be safe with your friends? Well, I have friends too. He makes a motion to shout, but two things happen almost at the same time. The first, the feeling of a warmth and beauty emanating from Sophie flares up again, embracing both you and the hooked thug. His shouts come out as a weak, confused squeaks. Second, Gregory produces a wooden stake from his holster under his jacket and slams it into the thug's chest. Just like that, in a few seconds, the posturing vampire is down on the ground, paralyzed. I see you made friends, Time. Curious choice of company. I would say, who is he? He knew I was a vampire. He said this was his turf. He mentioned a Callahan. That gives Sophie more information than the other two, I'm guessing. He says something about presenting me to someone named Callahan. Ever heard of him? She looks shocked for a split second, then recovers her regular countenance. Yes, I have. This Harlem is an Anarch, then. Curious. Corona Park has not been claimed by any kindred, last I checked. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Quadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this unbound acquaintance. Gregory carries the Styx vampire and dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not in that poor person's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you can get away with this, just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away. But then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing is about as has about as many caveats as it has perks. You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at Asylum, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Quadir and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. What's going to happen to him? Good riddance. That guy's a meanie face. I do the same thing in his place. Good riddance. That guy's a meanie face. Oh yeah, I can't imagine him going to enjoy meeting Quadir. I hope he gives him a good grilling. That guy's a meanie face. Oh, Quadir will enjoy it too, I'm sure. She pauses, seemingly lost in thought for a while. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope. It would take some getting used to? I think so, yeah. I think I am. Yeah, I'll cope. I'm glad. She doesn't question you further. She seems distracted. Not all there. Her thoughts drift in the car, remain silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory, with the body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with a situation like this in the past? Unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets, without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it will take time to process. You are not in the mood for television, and a few books on the shelf in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sounds like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door, a moment of hesitation, and then a decision. This time, you turn off the lights. So you think back to Jolie. How many people in the city know about the Vampiric Society? How many are willing to accomplish in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions, he began wondering if there ever going to be a night that you could start crossing them off the list instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. You sink into a now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms, like an old friend. So, rest. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. All right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably, sitting on the sofa in your living room space, a book in her hands. The Melancholy of Resistance. The title is sure on brand. Good evening, time. Good evening, Sophie. How did you get inside? Sorry to have kept you waiting. I'm going to do sorry to have kept you waiting. So I have kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time I was called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I receive your word asylum would be called again tonight on the account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. I'm gonna be gone for a little bit. My dog wants to... I need to take care of my dog. One moment. Thank you for waiting. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile, while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. Most of the Primgon Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you'll do well to at least learn about. Who should I talk to? How should I carry myself when inside? More politics? Great. Who should I talk to? Anyone I should talk to when we arrive? Not especially. My advice would be get to talk to the prince and perhaps reassure of your gratefulness for being spared. Maybe speak to Quadir on the same topic if you get the hold of him. The Primgon I would advise against. They're rather stuck up to all told, and even if they will talk to you, they might try to secure you for some nefarious purpose. I wouldn't appreciate that. Of course, be respectful to anyone who approaches you and strikes up a conversation. You will no doubt be gossiped about, as will I. Keep a cool head. Some enjoy provoking fledglings into stupid acts. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you, but she might be protecting and teaching you. But it's clear was she really concerned about her own interests. You stepped in the art hole with something of a bad memory. Last time you were here, your entire world has been turned upside down, and your existence clearly ended. But tonight, there's a very little outward hostility. Yes, Quadir gives you a look that definitely intends to remind you of your place. But the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie. Time. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there's someone else you wish to present to the court tonight? Yes, Prince. They will be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. This better be worth the prince's time, Lingley. The prince gives Cordelia a cold glare. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He is in particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with times beginning eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch, that must have hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. You mention to the sire makes you grit your teeth in anger. Meanie face, settling you with a curse that cut you off your career, cheating you out of your ambitions, offering little in return so far. You remind yourself that defeatism will get you nowhere. Mindfulness, the here and now, this is your opportunity. You will make the most of it, if only to spite everyone who doubts your true worth. The flaring up the whispers in the gallery's hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit-clad inherent vampire still staked on the shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Cordelia. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life, and he starts looking around in disbelief, like a cornered animal. He backs on all fours and hopes and going in circles until he realizes he is trapped. Cordelia steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. What do we have here? Oh, Oh, no, come on, don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of uttered dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that is out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel up in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some other guests here tonight. It's unlike you ever experienced in the company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like a small take, all of the hoodlum's willpower not to crawl into fetal position and starts crying. No, please, don't hurt me, man. Don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs at the prince's discretion. Go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up, let's go. He doesn't wait for a confirmation, he just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming out of the room. Conversations start to around you, some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. Torture in the art gallery? Will Cordelia manage on his own? What happens now? So, what happens now? It will be at least some minutes before Cordelia gets the information he seeks out of this thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to the corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink, still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip, you start off, splash over your palate, coating your tongue, and inside the cheeks, nourishment. You left your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here a few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh runs your attention to the bespectacled man who you saw with Sophie the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. Good night. And sleep well. Thank you. I am. Be safe as well. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casual dress, plain-looking man stands alone near a column, watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you noticed. Try to talk to the prince. Chat up with the man with the glasses. Confront the man looking at you. Sophie told me to talk to the prince, so I'll try to talk to the prince. You approach the prince, trying to stay as respectful to her private conversation as possible. She glances at you as you step forward, her scrutinizing gaze mimicked by her companion. She addressed the dark-skinned woman before turning to you. Excuse me for a moment, Samira. Yes, Tim? What is it? I want to give you my things. I want to ask about Sophie. I want to ask about the chimera. Sophie told me to say thank you, so I'll give my thanks. I wish to thank you for sparing me, Prince. I realize it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I want to express my sincere appreciation. How thoughtful of you. How thoughtful of you. She takes a long look at you before she continues. I didn't do it from the kindness of my unbeating heart. You are an asset to Miss Langley, to the chimera, and to me. I believe I made the right decision. Prove to me and the others kindred of the city that it was so. And there might be more in your future nights than just a survival and servitude. Dark-skinned woman looks impatiently at you and chats the prince's attention. Forgive me, that's all the time I can spare right now. We have something to discuss with Samara. Still, enjoy the night time. Just bow and leave. Leave without comment. Same to you, Prince Panyard. I'll bow and leave. You leave after the two women end the conversation, which they go back to almost immediately after the prince turns to Samira. You notice Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element and not to be disturbed. Cordelia hasn't come back yet, so you could probably still find some time for at least one conversation. Chat the man with the glasses. Confront the man looking at you. I'll chat with the man with glasses. The man notices your attention, but takes a few minutes before he pauses his mingling for long enough to actually approach him. He looks at you quizzically. Thomas Arturo. Pardon? Who? Is that your name? Pardon? That's my name. I assumed you'd like to know. I know you. By name only, of course. Time? Embraced just a few nights ago, huh? Well, well, well. How's Undeath treating you? I'm coping. I'm beginning to like it. I'm miserable, to be honest. I feel like I'm coping might be what you would want to hear. It takes some getting used to, for sure. Oh, it sure does. Sure does. Good thing we have an eternity to make the best of it, right? He takes a moment to clean his glasses, completely ignoring you until he's done and puts them back on. I'm sorry, I got a bit distracted. You know, most of us don't need to wear these, right? I could see just fine without them, but it's a statement. The darn thing keeps catching specks of dust. The other assorted stuff, though, never stay clean for long. Sometimes I think they're almost more trouble than they're worth. Wouldn't you say? If they're a pain, why wear them? They look good on you. You like it? You like it when things are clean? Compliments, I think. They look good on you, really. You bet they do. Alright, it was a nice chat, but I have to catch up with a few others follows tonight. Talk to you later? Jeannie. Hey, Jeannie. He doesn't even give you a chance to say goodbye. He's already off, grabbing two glasses off the concierge tray and handing one to a mustachio man nearby. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everyone's attention. Cordelia is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes his unfortunate victim inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. The stupid hat is still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in a welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think. Something protruded there, making the pant leg bolt. One arm seems twisted at the very angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guests cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An anarch-contier, my prince. Active for some time now. Although, from what this one told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years. I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp. A courtier's slap dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one is guilty of threatening a member of the Chimera and claiming a dominion without the prince's approval. That alone will be enough to pass swift judgment, but he also an organic scum. My prince? There can be only one verdict, final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. Unless, of course, someone would like to play at being a good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The princess serves you and Sophie in cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm under yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. Dominate. Order Howard to stop. Do not interfere. Stop Howard from escaping. This one uses blood and stuff, though. So I'm not going to interfere. You have a feeling that Howard's efforts are fruitless. Just a few seconds later, that feeling is confirmed. He almost reaches the window. Almost, but not quite. In what seems like a blink of an eye, Courtier appears first, near his scabbard sword in one corner of the gallery, and then next to the escaping anarch on this opposite side of the room. The next moment, Howard's head flies off his body, baseball cap free. His lifeless body crumbles to the ground and begins to decompose in real time. It's an uncanny sight. As always, our sheriff does not fail to impress. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this anarch thug to my and Courtier's attention. I assume you all found the verdict satisfactory? It's a rhetorical question, and everybody here knows it. Then I consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room, and you see that many of the guests move to the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have time to strike up a conversation of your own, too. Courier Alsamai is still here, for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. A crew is still here, chatting with the remaining attendants. For a moment, you think the man who was looking at you earlier left, but he's still here, keeping himself in a secluded corner. Sophie said talk to Courtier, so talk to Courtier before he leaves. Talk to the man who watched you before. Talk to Thomas Arturo again. Talk to Courtier. The sheriff's mood seems to have improved, so you decide you won't get a better shot at saying your piece. He is just sheathing his sword as you approach him. He notices you just before his face turned from melancholic frown back to regular predatory smirk. You seem to have caught him in a moment of reflection. What is it time? I just wanted to thank you for bringing me here. Is everything alright? Impressive work tonight. I'm gonna say I want to thank you for bringing me here. I want to thank you for bringing me here in one piece, for giving me a chance. Emotion creeps into Kadir's face as you haven't seen Sheriff exhibit yet. Is that gratitude? It's fleeting, only there for a moment, gone in a blink of an eye. It was trying on my nerves, and you are still far and away from proving that it was the right thing to do. So I don't think that a few kind words will let you off the hook. I wonder, how does it feel to bring a lamb to the slaughter the way you did tonight? Do you feel any remorse? Regret? I'm going to guess. I'm going to enjoy guessing. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Why are you so mean? Do you enjoy being sheriff? Can you tell me something about Sophie? I wonder about Sophie. I was wondering if you could tell me something about Sophie. She talks about a lot about the Chimera and other things, but I barely know anything about her. Oh, I could tell you something about Sophie. Some things she wouldn't want you to hear, like the fact that she's manipulative and vindictive. But then again, which of us kindred aren't? You want to know more about Sophie's past? Ask her. She's unlikely to tell you the truth, though. I'm quite sure she never told me, despite our previous history. That's what we do, fledglings. We exist for centuries, and we lie. To our families, to our friends, to our lovers, to our kindred, to our sires, and to their childers, to ourselves. He picks up the sword and turns towards the stairs. Good night. And watch yourself. You mess my batting average, so I'll be sure to keep a close eye on you. With that final threat, he leaves the gallery. It's right about when Sophie almost ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory. Gregory's waiting for downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something, and not in a talkative mood. It is awkward ride back to the city. This time you arrived at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs, although a very nice lobby and luxurious-looking halls, into her domain. Please, have a seat. I shall be right with you. You take it in your surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece, an nouveau, richy living room, meticulously combed together. Apologies, old habits die hard. Clearly, some stick with you, even after your death. She drags on her cigarette and breathes. How is she doing that? Can you do that? Oh yes, you might not know. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you like. Other things too. Experiment. You might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest. These nights, that door is in the back. The bedroom, similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you before that I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing with the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interest in mind too. That's why I've given you your own haven. Why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me, or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something, when you're in trouble too. Although I hope that won't happen often. I would ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I have something to discuss with you. I'll be here. Trust needs to be earned. Why not discuss it right now? Why not discuss it right now? Why not talk right now, since we're here together? I need To follow up on a few things before we speak. Patience fledging. That silence again. That's definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, but she doesn't seem eager to share it with you just yet. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip, a promise that you'll show up tomorrow, and some polite goodbyes later. You open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting, in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into the secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more about this thing you become. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a silver of hope. Sliver. It's a welcoming change. Once more, Once more, darkness falls upon the city. You wake up, same as you have the past few nights, in a windowless room. As you pry open the reinforced steel doors, you look at the window to see, invariably, a sky before of sunlight, and then it hits you, the hunger. For a moment, you let yourself wonder if there will ever come a night when it's just not there. Given what you learned thus far, you probably have such a chance of kickstarting your heart with jumper cables. You lock the door behind you and head over to Sophie's apartment. You did promise to call on her. Might as well not keep the lady waiting. And hey, what else are you gonna do? Get in touch with your boss? Probably looking for you, if only to scold you for the unattended files piling up on your desk. But what is he gonna do? Call the cops? Ugh, it's not worth the hassle. You're almost hoping a few coworkers that seem to give something about you were faking it. It would make things easier. A fresh start from the ground up, just like old times. I'm gonna be right back. I need to take care of my dog again. One moment. These slots you put in your weird mood. It's strange sensation to walk the crowded streets, same as you have so many times before, but feeling so disconnected. All these people, you're not one of them, not anymore. You have vampire, kindred, and you need to carve your own path in this strange new existence. One way or another. Appropriately enough, you arrive at Sophie's building, just as that through crosses your mind. With a quick word with the security guard, and you left into the elevator. Apparently, Miss Lingley is expecting you. Of course she is. You knock and wait patiently as footsteps on the other side grow closer. Finally, the door opens and Gregory, Sophie's driver, invites you in. You find a lady herself standing by the window, silhouetted against the city's midnight glow. She stares at you, motionless, like a marble statue. Everything's alright? Am I interrupting something? Good evening, Sophie. Good evening, Sophie. She does not react immediately, but seems to snap out of some meditative state and looks at you with strangely blearing eyes. Yes, good evening time. I was wondering, when you look at the city, when you see the lights, hear the hum, smell the rain on the pavement, what do you think about? You gaze out, the light and rain, the restless honking below, music blasting from a nearby window, echoing off the buildings. Someone should record an hour of this and throw it up on YouTube as an ambient piece. Other than that though, it's business as usual. The sights, the sounds, the smell. You know all too well. Sophie watches you. You can tell she's disappointed somehow, but she covers it up with a courteous smile. Well, not everyone can appreciate the intricacies that the world offers. In fact, among kindred, my clan is somewhat notorious for finding innate meaning even in the mundane. You see, the blood that flows within me is the clan of Theodore. There are 13 such bloodlines among the kindred, though that number has been contested in the past, and these nights seem that nothing is certain anymore. The clans have gone by many epithets over the years, but the names used to use these nights have their roots in medieval times, the original Inquisition, if you can believe it. They use these categories to describe us. They use these to categorize us, describe our inherent differences. In time, we adopted them ourselves. Each clan has a uniqueness about them, inescapable or originating from some ancient progenitor carried from sire to child. For the Theodore, the gift lies in a sensitivity of sorts. We are uniquely attuned to beauty and ugliness both. We can see either where most cannot, a blessing on most nights, occasionally a curse. The sheriff is of my clan as well, although you'd be hard to press to see him as such. Poor courier, it breaks my heart to see him in this state. So there's beauty to it as well. Nothing like a good fall from grace. Try as she might to act playful, you could tell she's generally cares. She lets her gaze wander for a brief moment, but is quick to regain her composure. I forgot which one we are. Then there are the Venture, known for their pride and the prolificity to rule over others. The prince represents that clan, as is quite common in our society around the globe. Where the blue bloods think themselves rulers, the Bajura likes to see themselves as primitive revolutionaries. They call for a universal rebellion, while being slaves to their own temper. We don't discuss the rebel much anymore, not after they largely broken off with the Camilla. Do you think they were philosophers once, long ago? I hope to tell you more about some other bloodlines tonight. What's my clan? How can I tell it's Kindred's clan? Clans stick together, right? It's my clan. Do you know what my clan is? No, I can only guess it. Based on certain aspects of your behavior and tastes, you will need to come to your own conclusion that seeks validation from your clanmates, if you require such a thing. As you will no doubt learn, some kindred fit these stereotypes more than others. The blood is hard to deny, though there are certainly those who try. But that is perhaps a subject for another time. I invited you here for a reason. There is something I want to speak to you about. It is customary in our society, especially among the younger kindred, to organize into coteries. Sometimes they're called by the prince themselves or mandated by a fledgling sire. In our case, you may treat it as more of a strong recommendation. I want you to seek out companions, not only because you need to learn more about our society, but also because it is useful. True friendship is rare among kindred, but having allies, even temporary ones, is something of a necessity. These nights, we might be selfish creatures, but we are drawn to each other nonetheless. Where should I look for these allies? What do you have? Do you have your own frontier? What if I want to go it alone? Where should I look for allies? Any suggestions on where I should start looking? I was just about to get to that. She puts a mysterious smile. I spent some of my precious time last night asking around, pondering potential kindred for you to meet. Come up with a short list of contacts. I hope you appreciate the gesture. Forging a partnership with them might offer perspectives and viewpoints that I cannot provide. Lenses through which to view our kind. They are all members of Camilla, of course, more or less. Okay, who are there? Thanks, I guess? You're choosing friends for me? Thanks, I guess? Thanks, I guess? I know this might feel awkward, but trust me, it's the easiest way. You'll find you still have much to learn, and it's best if you have many tutors. So let's start with Tamir. They're a powerful clan, disliked by many, but feared and respected by many more. They have been an important pillar of the Chimera since the very beginning. They are blood sorcerers. Blood sorcerers. You flash back to one of those nights where your ex would stay up late playing video games. Not a pleasant connotation. Sophie snickers. Oh child, don't be caught with that look on your face when you meet a warlock in person. They really are adept at using Vente, their own as well as others, to unique and potent effects. Since they're quite rigid in their hierarchy, the kindred and I, in mine, for you, might need some persuading. His name is Agathan. From what I hear, he's quite the scholar, very ambitious, the child of noted Tamir here in New York asylum. Sturbridges spend enough time with Agathan, and I'm sure you'll run into her sooner or later. Blood magic? Intriguing. A scholar? Sounds boring. A chance to meet an important person then? This whole blood magic thing sounds intriguing. Oh yes, fascinating. There's also a well-kept secret of Tamir. Don't expect them to share it right away. Some things have to be earned. Anyways, if you wish to contact the young Tamir, I hear you can usually find him in a few age bookstores out on Broadway. Tamir has one of their workshops there. Gregory will give you the details. The next recommendation comes from a bit of a caveat. As you recall me saying, most bloodlines have unique features. That might not be obvious at first glance. Well, there is one clan whose members wear their curse on their sleeve, the Nosferatu. The way she says it, you're pretty sure it would mean something to you other than sounding foreign. It doesn't ring any bells. No wonder they make their havens in sewers, abandoned buildings, and such. Their appearance is hideous and obviously unnatural. Had they walked the streets like any other kindred, the kind would have learned our existence long ago. Did she just stutter? It's hard to tell with her usual complexion, but you could swear her skin suddenly took on a even more sickly color. The one I have in mind isn't big an eyesore as the worst of them, but he's no Adonis either. Still, he has some talents and connections you might find useful. His name is Delago, and has an office, for lack of a better term, in the otherwise abandoned grain terminal in Red Hook, right next to one of those Swedish stores. The name escapes me, the one with awful furniture. Like IKEA? An office? What connections does he have? You mentioned Diego has some useful connections. I was just getting to that. Diego has odd jobs for Codir, digging up dirt, locating kindred who would prefer to remain hidden, the kind of work Nosferatu are best at. He's on the case right now, something to do with Kine murders, I think. After your initial brush with our dear sheriff, I think it would be best wise to show some goodwill towards his agenda. Assisting Diego with his investigations might be a thing. She takes a brief pause to look out the window again. Now comes two more exotic proposals. Exotic, as if blood mage and a vampire detective were a business as usual. You may have heard of Gangrel before. They are a wild clan, in touch with their inner beast in a way others might not dare attempt. They mostly keep out of big cities, but there are exceptions. Normally, they haven't been part of Chimera for over 2 decades. But one kindred I would like you to meet has a strong, shall we say, familiar ties to this sect. Her name is Tamika. Her sire Jezebel was instrumental during the Battle of New York back in 1999, the very same battle that cemented the city of Camellia domain. Sadly, her achievements have gone largely unrecognized. Tamika had a number of her siblings still reside in the domain where they were awarded after the battle. Prospect Park, Jezebel herself left the city some years ago, fed up with being underappreciated. Anything more about Tamika? You mentioned siblings. Should I contact non-Camille clans? I got the impression contacting vampires who aren't in the Camilla was frowned upon, but you're saying these Garganels aren't part of the sect anymore? How does that work? It's not as clear-cut. Garganel as a whole have sworn off the Camilla, but individual kindred of that clan can still hold our ideals. Jezebel has one of them before she became jaded. Besides, their domain in Prospect Park has been upheld by Prince Penard for all these years, has it not? We consider them members of the sect, and they have, for the most part, kept to themselves. Perhaps it will take a young kindred such as yourself to make them realize where their loyalties lie. You see, seeking out Tamika could prove quite an educational, if nothing else. Who knows, perhaps you will find her temperament to be welcome change of pace. But speaking of change of pace, I have one last suggestion for you, although it's one I don't make lightly. The kindred, who calls herself Hope. She is Machiavellian. They are uniquely cursed clan. For centuries, we considered them mad, insane, and unhinged, but those of us who spend enough time with them come to understand the truth. It's no sickness, but a unique perception of the world that has them appear to be as unstable as that perception can prove to be very valuable. Having McKen as your companion might be taxing on your nerves and the true test of patience at times, but their insight and intuition are unrivaled among kindred. As Hope, specifically, she is said to be a recluse, but I have on good authority that she can currently be found in an internet cafe. I believe it's called in Lower Manhattan. Gregory has the address. She doesn't sound like my type. An internet cafe? Quaint. Where did you hear about Hope? Where did you learn about her, exactly? One of my colleagues told me about her. He considers her uniquely talented and tapped into the current fads among kind. Not something I'm personally interested in, and as I'm sure you know by now. I would take his word for it at any rate. Well, I believe that's all of them. I still have a few social calls to make tonight. so I'll leave you to it. Use tonight and tomorrow night to arrange some cultural visits of your own. I will send Gregory to you for you as soon as I have further need of your services. Oh, that reminds me. You'll need a car. Join us downstairs, won't you? She smiles once more and turns to her driver. He helps her put on her coat, and three of you leave Sophie's apartment. Sophie's point to one of the cars near the building as Gregory hands you the key. It is rather inconspicuous, compact car, a decent looking, if not luxurious, ride. Stay safe, time. This is your first night alone. Don't let it be your last. As you drive away, you find yourself with more freedom than you had in the past few nights. A blessing or a burden? Time will tell. With this list of addresses in your head, you consider your next move. So I have these 4 people. It's kind of magic. Sophie mentioned a vampire clan of blood sorcerers. Sparked your attention. One of them, Agathon, could potentially be your introduction to bizarre power of the Tamir. Searching for Hope. Sophie's suggestion you meet Hope, a recluse member of Macadamian clan. She's supposedly holed up in the internet cafe in Lower Manhattan. Gumshoe in the dark. A recent string of violent killings has the Red Hook distinct in Brooklyn on edge. Sophie mentioned that Qadir al-Samai has a secret associate investigating the murders, a Nosferatu neonate by the name of D'Angelo. If you help him out, he might be persuaded to form a lasting partnership. Jezebel's Childer. Sophie mentioned a Gangle neonate by the name of Tamika, who made herself a haven in Prospect Park. The Farrells aren't exactly a social bunch, even by kitchen standards. But if you can keep her from clawing your eyes out just long enough, you might be persuaded to join you. So, I am going to leave it here. It has been fun. Hope you guys have a good night and be safe. Bye.